I'm in a great mood. I am on PTO. It's Tuesday evening. I'm on PTO for the rest of the week. I had a notice for standby jury duty I had a jury duty summons, well, a standby jury duty summons that I just called and confirmed that I do not have to show up to. My husband is at the gym and I have nothing else to do, so I'm gonna sit and knit and watch some Gilmore Girls. And currently I am in between projects, so it is time for me to cast on my next project. And at the moment, it is mid-December. I am full throttle into my gift making for the holiday season. I did get a fairly late start because I decided pretty last minute that I would even be making gifts. So the past few weeks of my life have been exclusively gift knitting. I honestly can't remember the last time I worked on a project for myself, which on one hand makes me really sad, but on the other hand, it's nice to make for other people, and these are people that I love, so I'm just embracing it. So today, or tonight, I'm going to cast on a hat for my brother's Christmas / birthday gift. His birthday is on December 13th, and we have a birthday celebration for him on December 18th, I believe. And today is December 7th. So starting today, I have about 11-ish days to crank out his handmade gift because I would like to present it to him on his birthday celebration. So we'll see if I can do that. But in any case, today, that's what I'm starting. So I'll show you the yarn I have selected for his hat. It's this superwash merino. It's a superwash merino yarn called Sueño by Haiku. I got this from Yarnify, which is a local yarn store to me here in Chicago. This yarn is 100 grams, 255 yards, and it is, I believe, 80% merino superwash and 20% viscose from bamboo. And this yarn is quite drapey. I knit a Musselburgh hat for my sister-in-law, his wife, a couple projects ago, and I really like the yarn. So definitely wanted to make him a hat as well. The problem that I'm encountering currently is that I really have not decided which hat pattern I'm going to make for him. I have at this point narrowed it down to 3 options, and I think I'm struggling to decide for a number of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is that my brother cares about how he looks, he cares about what he wears, and so I don't want to make him something that is very obviously handmade or homemade. I want to make something that looks neat and clean and something that you would buy from the store, but at the same time I want it to be unique enough that it's not necessarily something that he would find on a shelf in a store as he's shopping. So I struggled to strike that balance, and so every pattern that I looked at, I'm like, it's too plain. He probably has a hat just like that, or it's a little bit too busy. I don't know if he would like it because it looks so homemade, kind of a thing. So I narrowed it down to 3 patterns, and obviously this is a pre-recorded video, so you can't help me choose, but I'm going to think it over as I'm winding up the yarn, and then from there I'll decide. So the first contender is the Hatch Hat by Emily Green. Here's what it looks like. I don't think it's focusing very well. Okay, you can see it pretty nicely there. So it's a ribbed hat, pretty straightforward. I'll show you another picture. So this is probably more of the vibe for my brother's version that I am looking to achieve. So that's option number 1. And these are all DK weight patterns. The yarn I have is DK weight. Option number 2 is the merge hat, also by Emily Green. And here is what that looks like. And what I like most about this pattern is that it's definitely unique. Like it's ribbed, but it also has those cabled sections that add a little bit of dimension and uniqueness to the ribbing pattern that I don't think you would easily find in a store-bought hat. So I think that adds an element of uniqueness, but it is still a pretty understated, clean pattern that's not too busy, not doing too much. So that's definitely a contender. I would likely, if I make this hat, choose to do this folded brim option. So the longer version with the folded up brim, I would definitely choose that for his version. And currently that's probably towards the top of the list, I'm not gonna lie. And the other option that I'm considering is actually in my queue and what I intended to make for him from the point that I decided to make him anything at all. So that is the classic ribbed hat from Pearl Soho. Again, DK weight, and it is just that. It's a classic ribbed hat. It is entirely 1x1 rib. And I'm just really not, I'm not feeling the 1x1 rib. That's just gonna be a lot on my hands. I just did a 2x2 ribbed hat for my dad, which wasn't, you know, unreasonable. Like, it was perfectly fine, but I'm just really not in the mood to do just plain ribbing for the entire hat, especially 1x1. I think that would make it extra tedious. And especially considering that I'm on a little bit of a time crunch because I need to get this hat done before the 18th and then one more hat gift before Christmas. I feel like this would just be a lot of knitting in such a short window, and I don't want to stress myself out by risking not being able to get it done in time. Like, I could totally do it, but I'm just so slow at 1x1 rib. What I'm going to do now is think on it, resume my episode of the Gilmore Girls, and mull it over in my head as I'm winding up the yarn. And by the time the yarn is caked and I'm back on this couch, I will have decided which pattern I'm going to cast on. as you saw, ball number 1 is wound, and I got so caught up in Gilmore Girls that I didn't even think about actually deciding which pattern to cast on. But I think I'm going to do I'm making the Merge Hat by Emily Green. All right, I guess it's time to cast on. I'm taking a little break from my jam session to check in and close out this video. So as you will have seen, this is the following day. I have successfully cast on, and I'm several inches into the brim. So for this pattern, it includes instructions to make a shorter brim. That is a single brim, so you don't fold it over, and it has instructions to make a longer version with a fold over brim, and I'm doing the longer version. And so I need to continue in this 2x2 rib pattern until I reach 4 1/4 inches, 4 1/4 inches. And let me just measure to see where I'm at currently. I'm just over 3 inches at this point. Probably can't see that very well, but I am just over 3 inches. So I have about 1 inch left of this ribbing to go. So it is now several days later and I have completed the hat. So here's what the finished hat looks like. The Merge Hat by Emily Green. Pretty sure I shared, here's a closer look. Very drapey. I will say that about the finished product. And I did make the largest size. I'll try it on quickly here to show you how it fits. So yeah, hopefully this shows the detail nicely. So I mentioned this before, but what I like about this hat is that, and I haven't woven in the final end, so shame on me. What I like about this hat is that it does very much feel like a ribbed hat, working it up. It is primarily a ribbed hat, but then you have these cable details interspersed throughout the pattern that sort of gives a twist to the basic 2x2 or 4x2 rib. And so it adds some variety and interest to the pattern that would otherwise be a regular 2x2 rib, which is what I liked most about this pattern. Because I've been doing a lot of 2x2 ribbed hats, and honestly, it can get boring after a while. So this was a welcome change to be able to switch it up, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I used just under 1 skein of this 100 gram, just under 100 grams of this skein of yarn. This is how much I have left at this point. And I do have another one of these skeins in my stash in this color, so maybe I'll make another merge hat for myself because this is for my brother, and we can twin it, or I'll find something else to do with the rest of that yarn. But I love how this only uses about a skein of DK weight yarn, which I think is really nice for a gift. So if you have 1 skein, 100 gram skein of DK weight yarn in your stash and you're looking to make a quick gift, this will be a really good option. I'll also say that this only took me maybe 3.5 days to knit up, and I thought it was going to take a lot longer because the hats that I knit prior to this have all been worsted weight and just basic 2x2 ribs, so no cabling patterns or anything like this, but this knit up surprisingly quickly. And one modification that I made is that I did not do the tubular cast on. To be honest, I like the edge of the German twisted for 2x2 rib more than I do the tubular cast on. I think tubular cast on is most ideal for 1x1 rib because it keeps in the pattern of the 1x1 rib, whereas tubular on a 2x2 rib kind of looks even more obvious and inconsistent than a regular German twisted cast on. So I decided not to do that because I prefer the way it looks and it's way easier to do. In fact, I vow to never do tubular cast on. I will always do the alternating cast on, or I can't remember what it's called, but there is a much easier alternative to tubular cast on. If I remember, I will link it below. and I will never do tubular. I am team no tubular, and I will die on that hill. So yeah, that is the merge hat. And I figured I would share the other gifts that I've been making for this holiday season, because 'tis the season, as they say, and many of you, I'm sure, like me, have been cranking out gifts left and right to have done in time for Christmas if you celebrate it, or the other holidays that occur around this time of year that it is traditional to give gifts for. So that's kind of where I'm at with my current lineup of projects, and I haven't knit anything for myself since the Winter League pullover that I talked about in my last video. Immediately after that, I have been working on back-to-back gifts for my family this year, which is fine. I think it's kind of normal for this time of year, but I've been experiencing a little bit of burnout, if I'm honest. But here we go. So the first gift I made is for my mom. I made her a pair of, what is this? This is the Vanilla Latte socks, but I can't remember the designer's name, but maybe I'll put it up on the screen or in the description box. I really like how these turned out. So this is the second pair of socks that I've made on a US size 1, which is a 1.25 millimeter needle, and I used a 9-inch circular needle for these socks, except for the heel and toe, which I did double pointed needles. This yarn is the KFI Collection Sock Indulgence 4-ply. So I have a couple other skeins of this yarn in a different color, but that's what the label looks like. And yeah, I just needed one ball of this. I have a really decent amount left over. I could probably crank out another pair of socks, shorty socks, out of the same 100 gram ball. So it definitely goes far. And I love how dense the fabric is. Now, the camera's not going to do that any justice, really, but this yarn, I would say, is on the heavier side as far as fingering weight, at least compared to the other fingering weight sock yarns that I've worked with. And so I really appreciate how dense the fabric is. It is a superwash blend, so it's 75% superwash, 25% polyamide. And I just think all of those factors mean that these socks are going to be really durable and going to withstand the test of time. So I really hope my mom gets a lot of wear out of these. I've tried them on myself. They are very cozy. And yeah, I liked the pattern. It's different from the regular vanilla sock that I've been mostly doing. I did a slip stitch heel and then just a basic wedged toe. And the pattern itself is just a, what is it? What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 2 broken rib throughout the entire sock. And so it added some variety in that it's not just knitting round and round and round and round, but it was also manageable enough that I didn't feel like it was overwhelming to complete, because what this project has taught me is that socks are a deceptively large amount of knitting, especially if you tighten up your gauge. And these socks in particular were 72 stitches. So before this, I think I'd only been knitting 64 stitches exclusively. And so it was just a lot of knitting, and I guess I wasn't mentally prepared for that. And these socks were, towards the end of the second sock, I was like, okay, I could never knit another sock again and I'll be perfectly happy. So I probably won't knit any socks anytime soon. Even though I desperately want more hand knit socks in my collection, I just don't think I'm in the headspace to cast on another pair of socks. in the near future, but we'll see if that changes. And then for my dad, I knit him a black hat. I've never knit with black yarn. I don't think I've even crocheted with black yarn much. But to be fair, it wasn't as bad as everyone says. I think because it was, so this is just a 2x2 ribbed hat that I made up myself. And I kind of loosely followed the crown decreases for the 2x2 hat, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I will link it below. So because the pattern is so simple, it doesn't require me to look down a lot. I'm not doing any type of cabling or lacing or anything intricate that I need to really be able to see my stitches to do. So that made it a lot less challenging to make in black yarn. And I don't know that I will ever do anything super involved with black yarn, but a 2x2 ribbed hat is really, it's not that bad. I've gotten to the point where I can knit without looking for the most part, especially if I'm knitting in the round or doing something really simple like 2x2 rib or garter stitch flat, anything like that. I'm pretty confident with knitting without looking, so I didn't find that I had to have super good lighting to be able to work on this hat, nor did I feel like it was a strain on my eyes because I wasn't looking down at my work super often while I was working this up. So it really wasn't that bad. But yeah, there it is. I'll try it on so you can see how it fits. It's really simple. I like it a lot. And I have decided that I would love to make one for myself whenever I get done making things for everyone except for myself. So yeah, that's how that turned out. Last but not least, and this is not in any type of chronological order, this is just the pile that I threw it on the bed in. I made my very first Musselburgh hat. So this is also the Sueño Haiku yarn in a different color. I think the color is sand something. Yeah, oh, here it is. The color is Shifting Sands. And this took about a skein and a half. I haven't weighed it to see how much I used to make this. This hat is for my sister-in-law, so my brother's wife. I made the adult large, I believe, like the biggest size. There's how it fits. And my gauge, I believe, was six stitches per inch. And I really liked it. I really liked it. It was super easy, super mindless. I actually had to knit it up twice because the first version I knit the medium and it was just not big enough. So I just frogged it as I knit the frogged yarn into the new hat. So that was kind of discouraging, but the first time I knit it, it took me 2 days, and then the second time it took me about 2 days as well. So in total 4 days end to end to complete this project, and I basically knit it twice. And the construction of the hat is super interesting. I'm sure you've seen it before, but you basically knit a giant hot dog and then you fold it in on itself. So the hat's fabric is like double layered, and if you knit it long enough to do a folded brim, the brim is 4 layers of knitting. So it's really warm, really versatile in terms of the ways you can wear it. You can wear it slouchy, you can wear the brim folded, the brim rolled. And I think that in that sense, it makes it a really ideal gift knit because everyone wears their hats differently. And I think this is one of those patterns that there's something for everyone in it. And I think it's a really safe bet for a gift knit. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. And this is another one that I have since added on my list of things that I want to make for myself. So I definitely have plans to make my own Musselburgh. And yeah, that is all of my completed gifts at this point. And currently I am wrapping up. I should have this finished today, This is the Hill 60 hat. It's also a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't remember the designer. I'll pop it on the screen. But I have, so what you do is you knit 2x2 rib for 6 inches. I'm making the largest size, and then you do another 3 inches in this 6x2 rib pattern. And now I just transitioned to magic loop and placed all my markers for the decreases, and as soon as I stop recording this clip, I will go ahead and execute all of the crown decreases and hopefully have this hat finished and on the blocking mat tonight. So yeah, that'll be 3 hats and a pair of socks, and if I finish that today, that'll put me at 12 days before Christmas. So it's more than enough time to crank out another gift if I so choose, but I really don't know. I really don't know if I want to. I might, but at this point, I'm just really feeling burnt out with the gift knitting. I'm not gonna lie. At this point, it has been literally 2 months before I picked up a project to knit for the pleasure of knitting it, or just knit for myself. No deadlines, no expectations attached to it. So I'm definitely feeling the gift knitting burnout, and I would love to know if you guys are feeling the same way, because it's been hitting me hard, especially this past weekend. Did a little staycation for my husband. You know, he's turning 30. It was a big shebang, and I feel like I've been in this space of giving with the birthday, with the Christmas gift knits. And even before I started Christmas gift knitting, the past 2 projects before I started these projects that I showed you today were also just because gifts for, you know, people that I love. And I think those gifts were more satisfying, because I definitely find that when I choose to start a project and make something for someone that I love, just because they haven't requested it, it's not for their birthday, so there's no deadline on it. It's just kind of a, here's this gift I made for you because I love you and I was thinking about you. Those gifts really are fun for me to make and really satisfying and gratifying to do. And not that these gifts that I have been making aren't, but it's been such a long stretch of time before I made anything for myself. So 2 entire months, I think, is a long time in knitting time to not pick up a project for my own pleasure. And 2, I have really been just cranking out projects for Christmas. And so it feels like I'm working on a homework assignment or a big project or a final exam. It doesn't feel like, it feels more like I'm making things out of obligation. Granted, this is completely voluntary. None of the recipients of these Christmas gifts have asked for these gifts specifically, and I do in my heart of hearts want to make them. But what I'm saying is that when there's such a hard deadline attached to it, it definitely takes some fun out of it. And I've been feeling that a lot lately. So all that to say that yes, Christmas is in 12 days. Yes, I can fit in another gift, but I'm not entirely sure that I will. I think I may either pick up a long-term whip, a cabled sweater that I'm working on, or I will cast on something entirely new that I just want to, just because. I'm really over just doing things for other people. I'm no longer in the giving spirit. I would totally acknowledge that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There is definitely this expectation this time of year to be really gung-ho for the gift making and the gift giving, and honestly that can be sort of draining. And I feel like a lot of people put themselves last during this time of year, but I also think it's just as important to do what you feel like doing and do what brings you joy as it does to do for others. Because if you yourself are feeling depleted and empty, you really are not in a good space to do all of the selfless things in the giving that sort of is ingrained in this time of year. So I would urge you to find that balance for yourself And don't forget about yourself this time of year. Don't put it off until next year if you need a break. If somebody is going to get their Christmas gifts maybe a week or two late, so be it. Don't be like me. You know, sprinkle those selfishness in there somewhere if that is something that you feel like you need to do. So yeah, I'm going to finish this hat. It'll probably take me a couple hours, and I'm going to edit this video, and then I'm gonna plop myself on the couch and get into some selfish knitting because I deserve, and I hope you do the same. So thanks for tuning into this video. I will catch you in the next one. All of the places to find me will be linked below if you want to catch up with me a little more. And I would love to hear what kind of gifts you guys are making, or if you're making any. And if you can relate to anything that I've said in this video, let me know. Let me know I'm not alone. I'm sure I'm not. But in any case, it has been a joy, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.